Okay, so the second game between Shelty and Skady is gonna be the home map for Skady. He's gonna be choosing quite an unusual map, Jotunheim. I think it was played so far only once in the tournament. It was, I think, picked by Sun Tzu. I think so. It might have been against Shelty again, but no. It was Hero OP. I think it was against Hero OP. And right about now, well, it's gonna be Skady picking it up. He's gonna be playing Oranos, Shelty against him Poseidon. Fairly curious choice. From what I remember from the game, from the first one that we have seen, then it seemed like a good idea to be playing Norse here. I mean, like, the map is kind of named Norsey themed, so quite obvious you could be assuming that even it was kind of like meant slightly for the Norse gameplay. Even though it doesn't have to be really all that much true, but sometimes the creators did have something certain in mind here. But nonetheless, of course, the map, we are gonna be divided by some huge mountain range in the middle. There's gonna be also a passage in the middle as well. Only one, but it's gonna be quite large, as it usually is on the 1v1, so we probably shouldn't be heading into something like brutal booming and walling into the middle like 500 walls, something along the lines of Black Forest from AOC. Now there's even gonna be a TC right in the middle, which is of course gonna be letting in. Well, quite a lot of action, quite obviously, on both sides, because it should be quite harder to wall off for whoever is not gonna be controlling the town center in there. Unless you're gonna be right now moving ahead and back into a base of Shelty. It's gonna be apparently using even the opportunity of gathering from wood and gold only to one storehouse. So saving the 50 wood in there for potentially some upgrade, maybe some extra granary, or whatever else you could be doing from that. Now Zdolur is gonna be cast right next to granary in there, and he doesn't need it right next to TC there too much. But at the same time, it really depends. If he's gonna be raided quickly, then it might be a bit of a problem. And yeah, there are kind of also, yet again, two schools of thought on that. Some players are never going to be placing it right next to the lure. Some are gonna be just always placing it next to the town center so that the hunt is completely safe in case you are gonna be forced back. But I'm kind of thinking at certain matchups, it doesn't have to be such a bad idea, and it's definitely nice to be seeing like different variants of kind of like similar play, just to maybe even be able to say what is potentially better and what might be worse. So relic monkeys, that could be potentially a bit helpful. Quite nice gold mines on the left side, which is always quite a nice help. And this kind of combination with the TC with the gold mine is certainly not bad. That's something that you could be hoping for, and Shelty could be maybe even using as a second TC. But considering that he's gonna be playing against the Atlantean, he probably should be getting some kind of army going as soon as possible. But quite frankly, picking Poseidon here is slightly curious choice, because I'm not entirely certain what the plan could be for Shelty. Unless it's like getting rid of a god that he doesn't want to be using later. Maybe. But for that, I would be maybe using Hades, because Poseidon is not that bad. Poseidon is really rather solid civilization overall, especially you could be wanting him on water. So I'm kind of not certainly, or rather not yet understanding what Shelty is having as a plan for this game. So we're gonna be having to see a bit later if maybe there is something really going on, or if it was some kind of spur of the moment for him and not really much is behind it. Not really sure so far. There's gonna be a bit of idle time. He's gonna be having plenty of villages on one spot, which is not that great. That's actually legit bad, obviously. You don't want to be having all the hunters on one spot. You can see 10 of them. Right now, even gonna be having extra one, really? It shouldn't be all that necessary, but he wants to be advancing a bit earlier. So for that, it is kind of useful. I don't think we have the observer tools here, right? Yeah. Jotunheim doesn't have the treatment, but you can be obviously switching into other players. Shelty is at 374, almost gonna be advancing. And what is gonna be advancing through? Is it gonna be standard ceasefire or not? I mean, like, what he could be doing is just going for Centaur raiding, but he's coming through Ares apparently. I mean, like, standard Centaur raiding can be also working with Poseidon. Even though it's trickier, obviously, than with Zeus, it's something that he can be doing. And considering that there is really huge room in the middle to still pass into enemy territory against an Atlantean, it's a good thing. Can be working rather nicely. As for Skady, he's advancing to Prometheus a bit later. He's getting slightly abused in there, but oh well, slightly abused. It's gonna be quite a bit bigger abuse very quickly. Zeus is gonna be having a bit different idea, but this is rather excellent. You can see the path blocking by Shelty. It was very well done. And this is just straight Age of Empires 2 at this point. I'm definitely liking to see this. This is starting to be becoming a bit more of a norm in the community. In the past, let's say, half a year, I have to say, maybe slightly longer. Time is kind of flying. But it's really kind of a bit of a novelty, especially considering that we are at 16 years of 17 years almost. Sorry, almost 17 years with the vanilla of the game, and this is, I don't know if players like are coming to it just on their own, but I have to guess that it's gonna be influenced from Age of Empires too, because plenty of the things and mechanisms are really similar. And even though they can be trickier to do, as for example here, it definitely is because of the 3D versus 2D, isometric slightly. Actually, is it fully isometric? I think so. I'm not entirely positive, because there are slight differences in various engines, but, well, it doesn't really matter at this point. To the point that I'm trying to make, as there is already gonna be the counterbarracks coming forward, and unfortunately, though, yeah, he's gonna be catching only the Oranos temple and the counterbarracks. Various military barracks are gonna be still going rather well. So I was actually looking for the army with Shelty. Yeah, this is exactly the mistake with the hunt in there. There was no reason to be sending basically all 10 into one spot. You don't want to do that, because then you're gonna be faced with exactly this. You want to be spreading the hunt, and it's both because of having safe hunt later, but much more importantly, when you need to be sending all 10 villages, for example, onto another hunt, you're gonna be having basically, like, at this point, more than a third of your economy completely idle for like maybe even 30-40 seconds. Whereas if you're gonna be having them split into different sources, then chances are much higher that you're gonna be having to send only like half of them into food, the other half is gonna be working, and vice versa. So, you know, the reason why you really want to be splitting if you can. And he could have, but unfortunately, didn't exactly see that. And right now he's getting really punished quite badly. You can see he's gonna be having apparently some military academy and stable. No, that's gonna be really heavy on food, considering that right now he's getting raided on food. That's... No, that's disaster already happening. That's not waiting to happen. That's already happening at this point for Shelty, unfortunately. So far, very well played by Skady. He's of course taking the opportunity that was given to him. As in the end, there's gonna be a bit of raiding right now by Shelty himself. He's gonna be trying to walk around. Unfortunately, the army by Skady is just gonna be way bigger. Oh well, it's gonna be having a bit of a flying day. That had to hurt on the butt in there. Definitely had to hurt. So all the way to the top, just a few idle horses, but they just cannot do anything at all. Can't see even the hero Murmilos are gonna be strong enough. So on the left side, there's gonna be still at least Tezu scouting around for Shelty, but Shelty is already in absolutely deep trouble. He's gonna be running out of the cows fairly quickly, even though he still does have about like 500 food in them, which is kinda good. And he's having plenty of chickens on the left side. Well, this is gonna be costly. This is gonna be so costly. And this one, unfortunately, even though it could be a reasonably close hunt as well, he is scouted, and with kind of like the advantage that already Skady is having, I don't think he's gonna be allowing him to be really go in there. There's gonna be still a few minutes potentially for Shelty available before he's gonna be running out of all of this, but it just cannot go anywhere all that well for him, I'm afraid. As Shelty is in pretty bad shape, you can see he's having 124, 123 in there. As for Skady, well, he doesn't have that much, but he's housed at 75. Gonna be building another manor. That's not... Shelty is actually housed at 35. Right now getting housed at 45. I'm just going to be pausing this to appreciate right now the difference of the population limit. 41 population limit for Shelty. And Skady is right now at 81. He's at 81. He's having basically like literally double the score on the population limit. That's just completely insane difference at 7 minutes 45. Oh well, let's see how this is gonna be continuing forward and further. Now Skady is taking the right route, potentially expecting that maybe Shelty could be wanted to go that way, but of course he just wants to be like running around here, keeping his opponent busy so that he doesn't have to, or else he doesn't have time to raid him all that much, and kind of like basically waiting him out. Skady, all he needs to be doing is just waiting for his opponent to come, and then slaughtering him and destroying him, because, I mean, like, he's even gonna be running out of gold, obviously. He still has 2,000, that's nice, but the next gold mine is here and there. He has no way to get there with the situation that he's in. So really the biggest problem is going to be for him the farming, and while Shelty can be surviving next to the TC with a few farms and everything like that, problem is that Scouty is gonna be like exponentially growing on his economy and like overall power. You could be probably getting even heroic age in some kind of good timing at this point. And therefore, I mean, like, really gonna be hard for Shelty to be doing anything. But so far he's at least not losing units. And that's like the first step. And let's not forget what we have seen in the last game. That was like an impossible game almost for Shelty to win, and he did win it. And maybe Skady is gonna be having some kind of, or doing some kind of misjudgment like that again. But at the same time, maybe he has learned from the last game. Maybe he was also informed that that game really wasn't as design worthy as he maybe thought. And therefore he's not gonna be as trigger happy with clicking into that button as he could have been. But right now the battle is going on. That's so far going rather terribly for Shelty, as you would be definitely expecting that. But considering how Shelty or the Skady is not all that well micro in it, you could have seen he was basically fighting with the Murmills against the Hoplites. I mean, like, it's kinda alright, because if the Hoplites got into the Turmas would be dying. But he needed just at least a few Murmillos sent against the horses, so that he does have some kind of meat shield for the Turmas himself. But nonetheless, there's gonna be some kind of reinforcement of this, as Shelty is losing the units, and much more importantly, this is a bigger problem for Shelty, like 99 times out of 100, maybe even like 100 out of 100, because he's the one who's gonna be having struggle with the economy, switching into farming, whereas his opponent, he can just replenish like all the time, he just doesn't mind. He's even gonna be coming for the second TC, and he's gonna be a bit of coming forward by Skady, and I'm really liking this Oracle, because that's letting him know everything that he needs to be knowing about that part of the map. If the opponent is going to be trying to sneak into gold, because he cannot go through here, it should be really scouted by the opponent, rather by Skady, also a whole lot easier. They don't want to be pausing that all that much. Still the top, that's going to be right now yet again quite nice wood line to be destroying, and while he does have enough wood, and still at least 500 gold, not really too much, well, problem is that he doesn't have all that much of an army, and as he's going for a bit of trading, at least a bit of it, yeah, he's going to be seeing that this game is completely screwed. I mean, like, the difference in this score is not too much and not too high, but at this point Shelty is probably realizing that with the army right inside his basically biggest portion of the economy, both the wood and the gold, him having only like 5 units here in the home, and also being kind of like overpowered on the raiding, that's not much of a reason why he really should be pushing forward, and he probably doesn't even know about the TC on the right side getting made. Yeah, I think he doesn't know about that. I have no idea about it either. So, good home choice, home map choice yet again at this point. Skady is gonna be taking the first win, and they're gonna be at 1-1. But yeah, well, quite frankly, this game was kinda not going well for Shelty. I really wonder what was the idea. We haven't exactly seen it from the very beginning. If he had some kind of special plan. Going for why to go for Poseidon here. Especially him being like a really good Norse player. But it almost felt to me that he was choosing on purpose a god that he doesn't want to be and doesn't plan to be using later, and didn't want to be using a strong god on a map that he's not really that familiar with. I'm thinking that's gonna be like the biggest reason. That while Norse would be good here, and Shelty is very good Norse, he just didn't want to be risking being faced with some kind of like maybe even a bad map spawned, because this is the original map, and maybe even being caught off guard with some kind of special strategy by Skady. So, bit of a respect by Shelty towards Skady this time. As in the last game, it was exactly the opposite. It's gonna be yielding a victory for Skady. So Skady had, of course, quite a high score. Military, quite a lot better. On the economy, obviously, tons better as well. No, Shelty actually couldn't get past 24 villages, and we were playing for 10 minutes. It's not great. Considering that he advanced with about, like, how many? 18 or something along those lines, just wild guess. Rather nice trading. And of course the military count like double for Skady. Didn't kill all that extra much so far with the same units lost. You just cannot fight superior numbers for such a long time. Bit of extra research is for Shelty. What was he actually researching there? The whole economy. Index, pickaxe and hunting dogs, and of course the classical age. For the opponent, he didn't have all that many things. He was having hunting dogs in there, and is that the villager dying? Oh yeah, that villager would be dying. So even the design by Shelty actually saved her life in there. She would be dying to the second boar, it seems, or the bear. But it would be just a small consolation to Shelty, I guess. Because that certainly wouldn't be turning the game around. Yeah, you can see the huge difference. And not exactly getting smaller all that much. Even though here, it was a bit of a massacre. Because that was like the biggest battle that Shelty could be going for. And the strength of the Greek units is gonna be doing at least something. But certainly not enough. GG.